It is Friday, July 27th, I hope. Yeah. And we're here for the weekly wrap-up, except there are some changes coming around here, particularly in the weekly wrap-up. I am going to try to play a little bit more, because I've been trying to play the guitar a little bit more. I'm finally getting back to just practicing more and playing more and really enjoying it, kind of revisiting a lot of old songs that I have not really touched in many, many years. That one is one that I wrote about 10 years ago. Most of the things you'll hear over the next few weeks are songs I wrote shortly after I did my last album, El Dorado, back in, I don't know, 2002 maybe, or something like that. And anyway, that is one that I had a title for it, but then I worked on it with a friend of mine who came up with some lyrics to it, and it now goes by the title of Idylwild, which the lyrics are still under construction, but I'll get more to that in someday. We'll talk more about that song. But anyway, so some of the changes that are going to happen around here is we are resurrecting the Ask Neil part of our site. And I will try to get to some questions that people have asked. So if you guys could start putting things back in there, target members, I'll be glad to get to them. I'm going to get to one a little bit later today that was one of the more recent ones that were up there that I addressed a little bit, but we'll get to that. And the other thing is, again, I'm going to try to play a little bit more and show you some of the stuff that I've been working on. Oh, but this one's not for today. I'll save that one for a later day. And I think last week I played a little bit of something that was that I'd started working on, and as I recall, I totally botched it and it sounded miserable. I might show you how that's evolved in a week. I'll save that for later too. But mostly I'll give you a quick rundown on what happened over the week for the acoustic guitar instrumentalists out there that are working on Steve Howe. We finally have finished up the installment plan of Mood for a Day, so everybody should have that, and I hope we'll see some uploads going on there pretty soon. And then throughout, one that I'm sure nobody saw coming, although I hinted at it a long time ago, and that was the Grateful Dead, Jack Straw. A fascinating chord progression, and just very, very cool tune. So I'm sure some of our Deadheads and great guitar students are already working on that. And so anyhow, and then we had a couple of student reviews. We looked at Ventura Highway. And what was the other one? Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. And as I've mentioned before, I'm trying to kind of get to more of those every week. A couple student reviews and a couple fly on the wall videos, and trying to spread things out so that we have a little bit more variety in what is going on. There were two interesting fly on the walls, I think. The first one was my old student Robert, who I see sometimes not for a year or two, and then he comes in and works on a few things, and he's always got interesting guitars. So he came into his first lesson a month or two ago with this 1926 Martin 018, and we spent the first few minutes of the lesson talking about that, and we put that up as an acoustic snapshot, and then that inspired me to get out it's not handy right now, but my Lap Steel guitar that you'd seen Jack Van Breen talk about once, the Weissenborn from 1920, built in LA. Here, and we talked about that. So I kind of put those up as two little separate features for everybody, but then his lesson got really into overall theory reviews. So I hope some of you have checked out, I think we call this one Melody and Harmony with Robert. So it has a lot of cool things in it that info you should hear lots and lots of times. So that's that lesson. And then I finally got around to working on the lesson that I did with our target member Beaker from, I think it was April or May when he was here, April, and broke it up into reasonable chunks that will be coming out over a long period of time, because there are a lot of them now. He moved in here for about 3 days, I think. And in this one, we talked about dominant chord resolutions and how certain chords can resolve, which is sort of going to bring me to the question I want to address from the Q&A part of the forum. And there was a question there about diminished chords and how they're used and when to use them and things like that. And I addressed it a little bit in print, but I want to talk about diminished chords a little bit. There are a few very important things about them that are really, really useful. One is they're used for suspense building. You got the train about to crash, the train wreck about to happen, and things like that. That's one of the places you see it. But they're also used as transitional chords, chords that demand resolution more than just a seventh chord. Here's D7 going to G. There's a D sharp diminished 7 going to E minor. It's a more intense chord. And I'm going to show you a little bit of a song that is, which one am I going to do? Tickle Me. That uses diminished chords to create a moment of intense instability that needs to resolve. Listen to a little bit of this. See if you can spot where the diminished chords are in this. Song first. I haven't hit one yet. Wait a minute. Well, but that one's going to have to be on the practice list for this week. Well, anyway, in that section there were 2 diminished chords. Right there. See if I remember this again. Right here. And right here. So, chord progression there. Now, the way I'm playing those diminished chords is barred at the 5th fret, then with the 5th string at the 6th fret, an E flat, the 4th string at the 7th fret, an A, the 3rd string open or in the bar at the 5th fret, a C, and the 2nd string playing an F sharp on the 7th fret. So I use 2 consecutive diminished chords right there, both to set up the next chord. So that's one of the ways that they get used. And later on in that song, secondary dominant here. It's a C9, taking me back to an F chord. The next time around at the same spot, use the bigger bite of a diminished chord. Only one note different. The C9 that had, it was really an E minor 7 flat 5 because I didn't play the C in there, but this is getting way too technical, I'm sure. Anyhow, at one point I used this to pull me to F. Later on I used the C sharp diminished, or E diminished. Okay, enough about diminished chords for now. Probably too much info, huh? But, so again, I want to encourage people to post questions back in that forum that has been fairly light for a long time, and I will get to at least one every week for a while. We'll see how that goes. In the meantime, I do want to end with a song that I mentioned, again, totally botched last week. So let's see what kind of shape this is in. I have no idea how this is going to go. Out on a limb here. But this is a song I wrote also about 10 years ago. 2002 was a kind of a lot of writing of pieces for me, and most of them were fairly had a little bit of percussion in them. You've heard a little bit of Jetstream last week. This one is called Any Other Name. Okay, still needs a little bit of work, but it's getting there. Hope you enjoyed that, and enjoy the way we're going to take the news in the future and get some questions in. And I will see you next week. It's going to be August. We're heading into the end of the year.